According to the US Army's Tank Platoon Manual, ATP 3-20.15, there are three types of fire pattern in which a tank platoon can distribute its fire amongst targets. These are frontal, cross, and depth. The reason they exist is to make the most efficient use of the platoon's firepower. The standard is frontal. Cross is used if flank shots are necessary, say due to terrain restrictions or if the target's frontal armor is too tough. There is, however, a very significant difference between a target engagement in real life and that in World of Tanks. That is that in real life, one hit is usually good enough to knock out the target. In World of Tanks, one hit usually does not knock out the target because targets have hit points. For us, instead of distribution of fire, you want concentration of fire. To explain this, I must introduce you to Lanchester's square law. Frederick William Lanchester was an Englishman famous for the manufacture of motor vehicles. You may be familiar with one of his products, the Lanchester armoured car, which we used in the World War I mode a while back. He had other talents though, and in 1914 came up with some mathematical rules to attempt to model the effects of combat. Since tanks are ranged weapons, Lanchester's square law, or more officially his second equation of combat, as shown here, applies. What it effectively says is that as force ratios increase, the casualties inflicted increase exponentially. Imagine you have two even teams, each with 5 1000 hit point tanks. Each tank will require 5 200 hit point shots to kill. They face off against each other and each tank fires at the one opposite it. They basically batter each other to near oblivion 200 hit points at a time. Almost all the tanks will be destroyed, and anybody who survives by the time it is over is going to be exceedingly unhealthy and unable to be a significant force for the remainder of the game. The actual winner of this duel will basically just come down to RNG and reflexes. Now let's assume that one team has watched this video. Whilst the other team continues to spread their fire amongst the easiest target to their direct front, this team focuses their fire on one enemy tank. So after the first salvo, one team has 5 80% health tanks and Team 2 has 4 100% tanks. After the second salvo, Team 1 melts the second tank. It has 4 60% tanks and an 80% tank. Come the third salvo, doing another 1000 hit points of damage in total, Team 1 takes all of 600 hit points back, since that's all the guns that the other team has left. It goes on from there. By the time the shooting stops and all enemy tanks are dead, the team has lost one tank and continue the fight with the remaining 4, varying from unhealthy to almost undamaged. This basically means that teamwork will count for more than lucky RNG rolls or a particularly good individual player. The obvious takeaway from this is that as a group, you need to focus all your efforts on one poor unfortunate sod and melt them. There is no such thing as overkill. An enemy tank on one single hit point can still put out as much damage as ever, and if it means stomping it with a 170mm round, then so be it. Remove the gun from the fight, and let the laws of mathematics work in your favour. I'm Nicholas Moran, the Chieftain. I'll see you on the next one.